Okay. So a little background on the course itself. It's about how to, again, collaborate with your entire project team. So being able to integrate those cloud solutions and the translation of information and that transparency with your entire project team is very important. And the solution there, kind of the linchpin of that, is our Studio feature. It enables remote project teams and partners to be able to share those ideas. And I'm going to go ahead and show that kind of with a background of Revu as a whole to show how to set up your document sets and then be able to access those from anywhere in the world, whether that be a computer or a iPad or tablet. So just kind of quick learning objectives, being able to set up those digital workflows for the entire project lifecycle. And that goes everything from the front end, design review type items, all the way through punch and closeout as well. So being able to implement that in all phases is very, very important, and not having segmented solutions for each. Not trying to change what you're doing, just enhance it. And that really starts with creating navigable drawing sets for office and field. Being able to have lightweight information that's linked back and forth between different drawings and specs and whatever it may be. Next would be being able to redline and mark up your different documents, specs and drawings as well, using your typical tools that you would expect, your clouds, your callouts, arrows, as well as images and things like that as well. So we'll touch on that. And then how to be able to save those over to a tool set and reuse them later on, both for yourself and your project team. And then finally, being able to do that cloud collaboration aspect that I mentioned. And this comes in two halves, being able to host all of your documents, whether they're PDF or not, and then being able to collaborate in live time on the same documents at the same time with your project team as well. So we'll touch on all of those as we go along. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and hop into the software. So the software here is very streamlined. I was actually already in Revu in presentation mode, so it goes to show that Revu is not only a PDF viewer or editor, but a creator as well. This was just a PowerPoint that was printed to PDF using Bluebeam PDF printer. So you'll note that this is a very streamlined interface. I'm in a certain profile that has the tools available to me, and this is very customizable. But before we touch on that, I do want to show off the command bar. It's a lot of pictures, and it's easy to access the tools that you need very, very easily. So I just click through. For example, I want to access my markups. I just touch markup or click markup, and it gives me the tools available and just quick drop downs that are available for each type that I would like. Same with measurements or whatever it may be. You'll note that these items here on the left do not change. So these are kind of those very frequently used ones, new open save, print, email, and then kind of that linchpin that I mentioned, Studio. And so I'll go into that here, kind of the back half of the presentation. So, and again, I do want to touch on this particular profile, which is construction. You'll note that there's a number of profiles already preloaded in this program. If I wanted to hop into simple, it cleans things up. There's not the tools that I would need quite frequently, but it maximizes my screen real estate and my viewability. But in this particular case, I'm going to use construction because it's what I'm familiar with, and it's what I'm going to use for the tools on my drawing set. And I have the ability to customize these as well. Move the tool sets around. I can right-click and add a whole bunch of tool sets as well. If I want to add the redaction tool set or take it away, I just uncheck that box. If I order this the way I'd like, I can then come into our profile manager, this blue guy with the bow tie, and save and export this to the rest of my project team as well. So everyone can be working on a consistent platform. There's not a lot of downtime to train and get everyone up to speed on how to access those tools. So I'm going to go ahead actually and hop into some drawings. And to do that, I'm going to come to my file access. And our file access is basically a favorites list. It's the documents that I like to access quite frequently, and I don't have to dig through 16 layers of folders to be able to get there. So I have kind of my pinned documents, as well as some categorized documents, and then my recents. And the recents is nice because I have those documents available to me very easily, and I can access it a number of different ways. I can do it by date, folder, or most access, for example, to kind of have that ability to see those. I'm going to just open some easy documents here. So I'm just going to pop open an A201 drawing as well as an RFI. And so in review, one of the overarching premises is being able to access that information very easily and have it all right in front of you. So I can, for example, scroll through my RFI, or I can fill it out and do drop downs and fill out this form. It's a pre-built form within Review. But I can also access this drawing. It's in tabular format across the top. I don't have individual instances of Review open. And that's very, very nice to be able to have that back and forth and not have a whole bunch of versions of the software opening. You'll note as I scroll through the R5 with my mouse wheel, it scrolls through the page similar to a Word document, what you would expect from an 8.5 by 11. Whereas on this wide format, this 42 by 30 over here, I can I'll need to be able to zoom in and see the details of the information. So again, it defaults to my mouse wheel. And Review is smart enough to know that difference. As I zoom in with my mouse wheel, it moves me to that part of the page. And I can click and drag to pan around and then zoom in and out as I'd like. Now I can also split screens, for example. I can have the RFI open on the left and be able to confirm something against the drawing on the right. A great way to have that information available to me. And I can, for example, split screens again and pop open a web tab to be able to search something, for example. If I need to search building codes in Google, I can pop that open, have that all available to me very easy. But I'm going to go ahead and clean this up a little bit. I could split it up 16 times. If I'm working multiple monitors, I can also drag these different tabs over to different monitors as well. If I'm doing that with this particular program. In this case, I'm on a laptop screen, so I don't want to clutter myself too much. I'm going to go ahead and kill the split screen here. But I want to be able to set up a navigable drawing set. So that's really where things start on a project, is having an entire drawing set that I can hop through very easily and not have to hunt for the information available. So to do that, I'm going to come back to my file access and open a combined set of documents. So an entire drawing set that you would have for a project. And I'm actually going to open my thumbnails tab so you can see how this works. But this is a 36-page document, as you see down here. But the page labels on each of these pages isn't a whole lot of information. 100, 101, 01, and we have some decimal points down here. It's not a lot of useful information. I don't know what the 0.1 really means. And so what I'm going to go ahead and do is change the page labels. And to do that, I'm going to create my page labels with this yellow star. And I can do it off of bookmarks, but in this case, I don't have my bookmarks set up. So I'm going to select page regions. And to do that, I'm going to select a spot on the page that allows me to, that has information that I'd like to pull into the page label. So in this case, I'm going to select a G100. And then I'm going to go ahead and underscore and add the drawing title as well. So right here, add this drawing title, and it now gives me a preview of the page label that I'm going to apply here. So as I click OK, I want to apply this to all 36 pages, and this will hunt for those two particular regions throughout the entire drawing set and rename all of my drawings. So you'll note that those page labels all change. So if I want to hop into my electrical drawings, I just click E100 first floor, and I now have that drawing right in front of me. So a very easy way to relabel the pages. Now, this goes a step further as well when you want to be able to link, for example, detail callouts or cut sections, those types of things where you have a drawing number called out on a drawing. I'll show an example here. I'm sure you're all familiar, but I want to be able to jump to that A300 from this page and not have to hop back out into my thumbnails tab, look for A300, and go grab it. So to do that, I'm going to come up to my batch functionality file, batch, and link. Now this is an extreme-only feature of Review, so the version of Review Extreme, but I'm also able to do these one at a time as well if I'm not working in Extreme. So I'm going to select New, and add my open files, but I only need the last file, right, this combined set, because I want to apply the links for that. So I select next, and again, I'm going to select a page region here. And I'm going to zoom in and pick that drawing number, the same drawing number that's going to be called out in each of these detail callouts. Again, I get a preview of it, but I'm going to select OK, and I'm going to go ahead and click Generate. And what this does is, again, it searches for that particular region of the page and pulls in that text and gives it a preview. Now, G100 is not going to be in any detail callouts because it's basically a home page. So I'm going to go ahead and change this actually to the drawing number. And what this will do is allow me to have a home button, if you will. On every drawing, as you'll see, there is this project number that will end up being hyperlinked back to the home page that I can then jump back up to the schedule. I'm going to jump into my link options and highlight these as well so you can see this in action. And I'm going to go ahead and click Run. And it's going to take a couple seconds to search through each of these drawings and find those specific snippets of text and apply these hyperlinks. So I'm going to finish and close, and you'll note that little yellow stripe there is all the hyperlinks that were created just on this particular page. So it created 168 hyperlinks in a matter of 2 seconds, really. And I can now jump page to page very easily. So I'm going to hover over, and you'll notice my cursor turns to a hand with an H. So if I want to jump to A201, I click it and say I need to get to this cut section A300. I zoom and click it. A700, same thing. And I'm now to the information that I have that I'd like as far as grade details or elevation details, whatever it may be. Now, again, I want to be able to jump back to the home page at the end of the day and start into a new document set. I can do that with this project number, and it will jump me back to the home page. So great way to be able to navigate around. 36 pages is not too terribly large for a lot of construction projects. It's kind of laughable. You have hundreds or thousands, oftentimes, of drawings. But this batch link would be able to apply that same functionality on those hundreds and thousands of drawings that would then allow you to navigate very easily. You're not standing at a drawing table, flipping back and forth between all of the drawing sets. But again, having that many drawings can get very cumbersome. It's kind of weighing down on my lightweight laptop here. So being able to access it, for example, on an iPad that doesn't have a whole lot of computing power can be very difficult. It can kind of get bogged down with a large drawing set or not even open it at all. And so to prevent that, what I'm going to go ahead and do is extract these pages into individual files. And this will do two things, which I'll touch on here. I click Extract Pages, and I'm going to apply this to all of the pages. I'm going to I'm going to extract these pages as separate files and override any existing, whatever it may be. I'm not going to open all 36 pages all at once, but I am going to keep the hyperlinks and relative paths. So what this is, so even though I went through the hyperlinks, it will keep those even though they're separate files later on. We'll see how that works. So I click OK, and I select my location. And what this does, again, is it pulls out each one of these sheets and saves it as a new file based on the drawing number, the G100 title sheet, whatever it may be. And it's thinking here it's actually going. It doesn't look like it's going on the WebEx. But it'll take a couple more seconds, and then I will have all 36 drawings available within that folder that still are hyperlinked back and forth. And so let me go ahead and close out these documents here, and so you can see how that works. So I'm going to come back to my file access and hop into that folder. Let's see here, extracted pages. And let me come to that A100, for example. So that is a site plan, right? And so there's actually no detail callouts. So I can't link to anything except for this home button. I want to be able to get to my G100, for example. I click it. It jumps me to the A100 or the G100, and you'll note that it's opening a separate file. And so what this allows me to do is not only work in one-page files, as you'll see here in the thumbnails. This is one page, not 36 anymore. But it also allows the rest of my project team, for example, if I'm working in a shared drive or a shared folder, whatever it is, it allows the rest of the project team to come in and access the rest of those 36 pages, whether they're, electrical or mechanical or plumbing, whatever it may be, while I'm working in, for example, the architectural drawings. So I'm going to zoom in and select A201, and that will open a new page, as well as A300. Again, you guys get the idea. If I want to jump back to my G100, I click that, and it will come back to the original tab. So great way to have that back and forth. And even with the time to explain this whole navigation bit, I was able to do this in a number of 4 or 5 minutes instead of the days and weeks that it often takes an intern to be able to do these things at the beginning of the project. So we now have a navigable drawing set that we can utilize in the field. Now we want to be able to mark up and work on them. So to do that, again, I'm going to clean up a little bit, close out some of these files, and hop into my trusty A201 that I've been talking about. So this is a typical architectural drawing, and you'll note, as I mentioned before, I have all the tools available to do markups here in my profile. Let me move this WebEx thing over. I can now access these markups from 3 ways. So I can come up to my text box item under markup. I can come over here on the right, but I can also use that little T, that hotkey on my keyboard that will give me the tool as well. So I can, click and drag and type in, for example, text box, and then auto size it, for example, and it tightens it up, knows the size. We can do, lines and arrows. I'm starting to use the hotkeys here so you can see what I'm talking about. Ellipses, rectangles, you get the idea. But being the AEC industry, some popular ones are obviously clouds and callouts, being able to show the information that you're referring to when you comment. So I'm going to apply a cloud here and just click and drag. And then again, with my hotkey, I can add a callout that says C RFI number 24. Done. That information is down on the page. I can also size that text box again as well. But I also need to, these end up being 2 separate markups. So we actually added a new tool this year down here called Cloud Plus. And so what this does is it basically creates, in 3 clicks, a combined cloud and callout. So for example, I need to be able to move this door. We need to move it further away from this column, for example. I can use my Cloud Plus tool, and with that click and drag, I now have a callout available to me as well. And I can say, move door 2 foot left, or right, excuse me. Done. I can auto size it if I want to. But this leader line is actually smart. It's still attached to the cloud, and I can drag it around wherever I'd like to be able to put it in white space, for example. And this also ends up as one item in the markups list, which we'll get to in a moment. So I've done a number of different markups very quickly. We have a lot of other options as well. For example, I can add images and come in and, for example, just click and drag. I can add the detail for the door jamb, for example. But I can also right-click and add capture and add a thumbnail, for example, a thumbnail picture attached to that particular comment, so you know what it is that you're looking for. So that double door, I now want to add as a comment, and you'll see as I click on it, it pops open a clear picture that you're able to communicate with your team without writing a paragraph of what type of door it is that you're referring to. Great. So I have a lot of information down on the page, again, very quickly. If I come over to my tool set, or tool chest, all of this information that I've placed is now saved in my recent tools. So all of those tools that I've added have been captured here in recent tools, and I can reuse these. So for example, that CFRFI callout, I want to be able to utilize that later on. I can do so very easily. That Cloud Plus, same thing. If I need to move a door 2 feet to the right, I can reuse that. What it also does for me is if I don't double click, it will leave it in properties mode, and I can just reuse the tool without having to be an exact copy of the text and say confirm dimensions. All this is done very quickly, and the information is down on the page in no time flat. I can actually click and drag these to different tool sets, for example, my tools, and that will add a hotkey, a tiny little 6, that if I use on my keyboard, it gives me that tool. But I can also create tool sets as well. Just click on this wheel, and I can create, bring an existing or a new one, Novedge, and create a new tool set in no time flat that I can drag all these tools down, including, for example, that image. I can reuse that image later on a different drawing, just with an exact copy of that tool set. So, all right. So now that I've been able to save this for myself and be able to reuse, I want to share this with the rest of my project team. So to do that, I can click Save on this custom tool set, and then I can export this as well. What this does is I can basically attach this file that's exported to an email and send it out to my entire project team. They double-click it, and it uploads into Revu no time flat. I can also post it on a shared drive or a studio project, for example, which we'll get to in a moment, that shows that you're able to distribute this information very quickly and have everyone, again, working on a consistent platform. Now I'm going to pop down here into the markups list, and what this is basically a spreadsheet of exactly what has happened on the drawing thus far. So you'll note all of these markups have been captured, and if I zoom in here, I can click on each one of these, and it will jump me to that spot of the page as well. You'll note actually with these clouds and cloud pluses, anything that has text, it's capturing those comments here in the comments list. So this is phenomenal for if you're doing comments in a punch list or in design review, and you're doing these call outs with text in them. Those are all captured in the comments list automatically. You don't have to go back and create an Excel spreadsheet to be able to capture all that information. It's also capturing date and time, page, author, those types of things, as well as a number of other preloaded columns. So I can change the columns that are available to me. If I don't need the layers, for example, I just uncheck that box and that layer column disappears into space. And so I'm kind of cleaning up the information on the page. I don't need color, for example, because everything's the same color. I uncheck that box and those colors disappear as well. I can rearrange these just with a click and drag. I put these comments over here. And I can do custom columns as well. So in this case, I have a responsibility column open, which is basically just an assignment of tasks to each individual person that I can then click and drag and assign items to certain people. Now, what's great about this, similar to other spreadsheets, is that I can sort and filter as well. So I just click that title and it sorts by responsibility and brings all of those items up to the top, but I can also filter. So for example, I want just the cloud pluses. It will give me that no time flat. I can assign these and status them as well. So the status column will allow me to double click and I can review it as the owner or the architect and say that this is pending, but I come back in later on and change my mind. I can say it's completed. A nice little feature that we've built into this particular sheet, and you have this freedom under the statuses icon, is allowing your team to change the color of the markups as you status it. So as this item became complete, it changed to a green. So if I were to come back later on and change my mind into pending, it will change it back to that red item. All those statuses are actually stacking on top of each other as well, with complete transparency of who has done it and when they change those statuses as well. So at the end of the day, say we're done marking this up, or we want to be able to create a task list or a responsibility, some sort of report, I can come into my summaries and run a report. So I'm going to pop up in this thumbnails tab so you can see this in action. But I can run this in CSV and send it out to Excel, but I'm going to send it to PDF instead. And again, create hyperlinks. So you'll see that as a running theme throughout this, but basically being able to share that information very easily. You'll note that this 8.5 by 11 was attached to the back of that original drawing, and it captured only the information that's in the markups list currently. So it only captured those 3 Cloud Plus items because I had it filtered to that subject. But it's also capturing the statuses, the images in that particular case, that little thumbnail that I added. And it's also giving me these little thumbnail drawing clips. But it might be tough to see exactly where this is on the drawing in a lot of cases. So we've, again, hyperlinked it to be able to jump to that location on the page as well. So very, very useful workflows of information that you can utilize in a number of different ways, whether it's, design review at the front or punch list and close out at the very end of the project. So that is the quick overview of how to utilize Revu within an individual workstation. It's just me and my computer being able to do work. Where this really, really becomes effective, and that brings in this collaboration aspect that I keep talking about, is with Studio. And so I'm going to go ahead and hop into Studio here. And this is that blue house that I've mentioned earlier on. I'm going to close this file and pop into Studio. Studio is broken into two halves. And so there's Studio Sessions and Studio Projects. So I'm going to start in Projects and then hop over to Sessions to see how that all works. But Projects is my document management system. It's where I'm able to house all of my files, whether they're PDFs or not, and then be able to share that with anyone else on my team. So everyone needs to be able to access and manage a number of different drawings and files and models and whatever it may be. So to do that, I can host them here and be able to check in and check out files as I work on them, be able to do revision histories and things like that. So let's go ahead and take a look at that a project here. So I just pulled open my Valley College Training Center project files. So as I double click, it's a folder structure that I dumped onto Studio from my computer. It's several gigabytes worth of information. But the great thing about projects is that there's no storage limit. It's actually unlimited storage. And all of these Studio features, I will mention, come included as with every license of Revu. So if I want to come in, I can see all my field reports or RFIs or whatever it may be. But I can also see examples of my 3D files. So I can come in and see my Navis files or my Revit, whatever it may be, and see each one of those. Actually, a fun one that a lot of people don't know about is the ability to open 3D PDFs. So this is not Studio specific, but this is the ability to basically share model information in 3D aspects with the rest of your team, whether they have modeling software or not. So a lot of contractors and owners and engineers or whoever it may be won't buy a whole bunch of seats of expensive modeling software. So you can share the same information just by sending over a PDF. And this is able to be worked in and unlocked with any PDF software, actually. Again, I can still mark up. For example, this floating sphere is a markup that was made on the stair. I can click on it, and it will jump me to the view of that particular file. So there was a comment, what ADA requirements for overhang on the handrail. And I would be able to answer that within this or answer it in the markups list as well. Okay, so again, this isn't proprietary to just PDFs, but I need to be able to work on these documents as well. So, for example, let me pop open a drawing here. I default to my trusty A201. It will open this file, and you'll note that there's already been some work done on this. There's a couple markups here, but I want to, again, add some of my own information. But all of these tools are grayed out. You'll see them grayed out here on the right, and this is because it's locked. Whoops. It's locked. It's in read-only mode. So to do work on it, I need to check it out. So click check out, and this will become a check mark, as well as here on the right. And this will be reflected with anyone else in the project as well. So they now know that this project or this item has been checked out and it's being worked on, and they can only view it in read-only at that point. So I need to, again, add a cloud and an arrow or whatever it may be. Say we need to add a door over here. So again, I'm just getting that information down onto the page, and say I'm done with the work. I've completed my information. I can check it back in. I have a number of other options here as well, but I'm just going to check it in and add a comment that says added double door comments. Click check in. You'll note that this will go back to a lock here as soon as it uploads. It's uploaded and overwritten the project copy, and as I close it out and then double click on it, it will include that information on the page as well. I can also jump into, for example, the revision history. So I want to see all the work that's done on this particular document. I can see that there's actually been 16 different revisions, and I can see all the dates and times of those, who has done them, what the operation was, as well as the comment. So this is very, very valuable to be able to see what has happened on your documents as you go. But I can also view those particular revisions. So it's not overriding the previous revision. You can't access it. It allows me to open any of those old revisions and actually restore them as well. So if someone goes in and messes up revision 16 and I need to be able to restore revision 13, I can do that very easily. Now, I'm the administrator, so I have all these permissions available to me, but this is not assign everyone every permission available. You have complete control over what people are able to do. So I was able to edit that PDF. Let's go ahead and edit something that's not PDF. So I have some Word documents down here, some different specs, for example. I have my published PDF versions, but I also have some Word versions here. So I'm just going to double click. And what it's going to do is open in the native file format. So example, Word document obviously opens in Word. So I was able to view that very quickly with a double click, but if I want to check out and edit the file, I can still do that. So I can check out, and it will pop down here in my pending changes. Now as I double click on it from my pending changes window, this will allow me to edit the file and save it back. So for example, I don't need the word panels, for example. And let me go through and highlight a couple of these items because I need to reread these later on, whatever it is. Or I can assign different colors to different people and say, go review 1.3A, 9, and 10. Great. And I can do that. And again, I'm going to save this and upload it again. So I right click check in, and say, added highlights, click check in. And then this will, again, upload the file over at the project copy. As I double click on it again, it will show those revisions as well. You'll see those highlights as well as the panels are gone. The panel word is gone from acoustical ceilings. So a great way to be able to navigate and edit your document sets and have that shared information with everyone in the project team. And so to be able to share that, I can do this a number of different ways. I can share this 9-digit code here, this 859, whatever it may be, and people can request access. But I can also send out invites, for example. I have a group that I send out to my colleagues, or I have email templates as well that I can upload and send to different people and allow different people. Now, if people were to just get a hold of that 9-digit code, they can't access the information until I allow or disallow. And I'll show you where I do that. So here are my settings. I can do a number of different items. Now, again, I'm the administrator, so I have the ability to assign or allow different people, but not every person in our project will have those permissions unless you allow that to be the case. So you can actually do notifications. That's a fun one, being able to watch documents and get notifications, for example, in your email inbox every 24 hours or whatever it may be, of what is being worked on, who's updating the project copies, and what exactly they're doing. And so you can come in and see that transparency very easily. So user access, for example, I've already invited 5 different people here, but I can come in and deny them as well. If people were to request access, I could allow or deny as well. And I can assign the permissions of each individual person or groups as well. So I can assign permissions on a group basis. For example, you're setting up bid documents, so you want to send out to a number of different contractors or whatever it may be. You can allow certain permissions for a certain period of time, and then at the end of the day, you can cancel out the permissions of the groups that were not awarded the project. And so in this case, I have sole permissions, and I've denied everyone of sending invitations or sending PDFs to sessions or full controls. So for example, if I was going to go on vacation and I needed a backup to be able to administer this project as while I was gone, I could assign permissions to one person or to a handful of people to be able to have my back if I were out of town, for example. I also have the ability to get into the folder permissions. So being able to assign, hidden or rewrite or all of those permissions, again, on a person-by-person or group-by-group basis. So say, for example, in this particular project, I want all of my specs to be locked. So I should be the only person to edit them. People can come in and read them, but they can't read, write, or delete. So I can select this as read, and this will assign a inherit from parent to all those Word documents as well. So people can still see those files, but not edit them. Same, for example, if I don't want any of my contractors to view my 3D files, for example, I can hide that, and that will hide all of those from anyone who's assigned in this group section. So very, very useful way to manage and administer your projects as you go along. You're not tied to any one section or ability of, all of this set permissions goes to everyone. It's very, very flexible in that aspect. All right, one last thing before we hop into sessions, and that's the ability to share links. So for example, again, I want to share information with someone who honestly may not have a seat review, or I only want them to have it, for example, for 24 hours. Or whatever it may be, I can do this and share this file. For this example, I'm going to do it lifetime, but I can require a password or flatten the markups as well. So as I click on OK, this gives me a link that I can send out in an email. So I'm going to copy that link and close this window and pop open a web tab to show this off. So I'm going to right-click and paste that link that I was copied. And this is exactly what people would get when they receive this link. Basically an invitation to download this particular link and who it was shared by. They just click that download button and they get a PDF copy that they can open any PDF program. The other nice flexibility behind that is that me as the administrator, I can come in and manage those links as well. So again, if I want to sever those ties, if someone's no longer on the project, I can do that. Okay, so now let's hop into the sessions aspect. So sessions is the other half of Bluebeam Studio other than projects. And let's see here. Let's work into my revisions, and I'll pop it up so you can see exactly what I'm pulling in. But I have a number of different files here that I want to work on with my project team all at the same time. So we don't want to have to hassle with the check-in, check-out. So to do that, I can right-click and add to a session. So I can add to an existing, or I can add to a new. In this case, I'm going to add it to a new one, and I'm going to call it Novedge. And it will create this session. And what this does is pulls in all of those files, all 5 of them that I brought in there, and it will upload them and allow me to work in live time. So now, at the start of this, I'm going to go ahead and invite some people because it'll take, I actually already have someone trying to join. And again, you can see how this works. People can request access, and I can view that. So in this case, Steve, my colleague on the Q&A window, has requested access. So very nice of Steve to be able to type in that 9-digit code and save me the time of inviting him. So I can deny him, but I'm going to go ahead and allow him, obviously, to come into this room and work with me. You'll note that Steve actually joins in, and I can see that he's live in attendance. If I wanted to invite other people, again, I can do that with just a click of a button and pull in a group of emails. I can pull in from my address book or set a template of people that I want to be able to send out along with the message. So now I have Steve in here with me, and I can actually view what document he's viewing as well. So I can see he's working in A201, which is what I'm working in as well. And so there's a number of different markups already on this page, but each of these is locked. So I'm not the owner. Oh, Steve has said hi, everyone. So I'm able to chat back and say, they say hi back. So I have spoken for everyone and said that you have said hi to Steve. But these yellow nodes, or excuse me, the gray nodes, means that this is locked. So for example, Steve's adding a cloud. If I want to click and find where he's working, you'll note that his clouds and callouts are gray nodes as well. Whereas if I wanted to add a cloud, or Cloud Plus, let's say change to conference room. All of my markups are yellow, and this allows me to have 100% accountability that the items that I'm putting on the page are mine. I'm the owner of those. So even though I'm the administrator of the project, I cannot change anyone else's markups. And this is a phenomenal way to, again, have the transparency of information and know the work that you're putting in is not getting changed at the end of the day. So Steve actually notified me as well. So he has something important that he wants to show me. And so I'm going to hop over to my notifications tab and see what it is that he's looking at. So I'm going to zoom out and say I'm over on a different part of the page. As I click on that, it will jump me to that spot of the page, the exact view that Steve had on his particular document. So Steve has alerted me, and I need to add a mullion detail. So that's great, and I want to signify that I've seen that. I can do that a number of different ways. So I can do a call out answer that says added per spec 24.04. And I can answer that just with a markup on the page, but I can also do approvals in the markups list, similar to what we were doing before. So in that markup, and let's find it in this list here, which is a number of different items. Again, it's highlighted on the page where the markup is. I can come in and status this. So for example, on the owner or the architect, I can say completed. Now this one doesn't have that color change because he's the owner, for example, owner of this markup. And he will now get a signifier saying that I have assigned that as complete. Now I can alert him of this as well. So I can choose to alert Steve of this particular change, and he would get a notification in his window. Now if he's not online, or if I'm not online when these notifications come through, it will actually send an email to your inbox as well. So very nice way to assure that the people that you're alerting to these changes are seeing them. And if they don't come in and view, they don't gray out like you see here. Now this records list is continuing to grow. So this information is growing very fast. This is a chronological records list of everything that's happening on this particular page. So, but it can get quite long, quite quick. So there's a number of different ways to be able to navigate. I can just click on these buttons, and again, it jumps me and highlights those markups as I go along. But I also, for example, want to be able to work directly with Steve. Now, I can be on the phone with Steve and follow him around and do basically a screen share, or I could be chatting in the window. So to follow Steve, I'm going to click these two little feet here. And what this does is gives me an exact view of what Steve has. Now, my hands are off the mouse here, and that tiny little orange crosshair is Steve's mouse. So Steve is moving around the document, and he is probably pulling in some tools here. And I can see this in live time. And again, I could be on the phone with Steve and say, oh yeah, I like that, put that right there, or move it 2 feet to the left, or we can be corresponding here in the records list as well. I can say, that's the perfect, let's see here, how far does the hand grab? We need an extra, oops, can't type, 12 inches. So I was able to respond to that, and we can communicate very easily back and forth. So a great way. Now you'll notice there's a tiny little shadow behind his guy here on this side. That means that someone's following him. Obviously, in this particular case, it's me. But I can just click on my screen and jump back to take control of my screen as well if I'm done following him or I need to do some work of my own. So this records list now has grown very, very quickly, and this is a great timestamp or meeting minutes, if you will, of exactly what's happening in this room. And so this is capturing this for every single document. So as of right now, we've only been working in A201, but if people were working in A203, for example, I can, add cloud here just for example. And it will pull it in as number 23 as well within this records list. But if I run a report, which we'll get to here in a moment, it will signify what page that was on. So I'm going to hop into settings really quick before I close this out. But again, since I'm the administrator, I have permissions to be able to do a number of different items. I can manage the notifications, I can change the name of the session, and I can also add an expiration date, basically a deadline, to say, you guys, you have to finish your work by 5 p.m. on Friday, or 5 p.m. 3 months from now, whatever it is that I want as my deadline. They will get notifications saying the deadline is set, please finish your stuff, and then they will get follow-up notifications in their inbox saying you have 7 days left, you have 48 hours left, you have 24 hours left, whatever it may be. So they know exactly when they can get their work done. And I don't have to be in the room or in the session logged in for them to come in and complete their work. Oftentimes, people are in different time zones or they have different meeting schedules, and getting everyone in the same virtual room is almost as difficult, if not more difficult, than it is getting everyone in the same physical room. So allowing that flexibility of time to be able to come in and do your work, but still have the transparency and the navigation to follow what other people are telling you is very, very useful. So again, I hop through my attendees list. I can do more invites and invite groups, as well as permissions. So I can disallow, for example, saving the document, or I can, again, if I'm on vacation, I can allow full controls to certain people and make that my own, have that customized ability on a person-by-person and group-by-group basis of the attendees. Now, the attendees can be up to 500 people in the same room, up to 100 documents, all in the same session working together. So obviously a very small sample size with just the two of us and 5 documents, but you have that flexibility to do it the way that you'd like. So at the end of the day, I want to run a report. And so you can do these reports from down here in this little tab, in this little thing called the 5 documents. And for example, if you want to run a report on these sessions once a week and you have it open for 2 months, you can have basically a time-stamped report of exactly how the project looked at a particular time period as you progress along, as you're 25, 50, 75% along. But I can also finish and run a report. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to close this session out and finish it. Now, again, I could leave and leave this open for everyone to do their work, but I'm going to finish and include the markups of both of us. And I can pick the folder that I'd like to be able to save it in, and I'm going to close the files after finishing and generate a report. And what this does is, again, it timestamps or basically captures the document as they stood at that particular time. And it's also closing the session out. So Steve has now gotten kicked out because I'm the administrator. I finished the session. He left, and then as you'll see down here at the very last item, I basically kicked Steve out. But you'll also note that I have dates and times and documents of each one of these markups as I went along. So for example, that one, all these A201s that we were working on, and I jumped to A203, it still captured which document I made my markup on. So again, this 100% transparency of exactly what's happening. Gives me a date this was printed, as well as attendees, documents, things like that. So you have a complete meeting minutes of what is happening and who you're sharing that information with and what has been completed. And so I could archive this and save it for later on. You'll note I'm back in the project now. So that area that was housing all of my project files, and it signifies that these are checked out in a studio right now. But as I click on them, it shows that they are checked out to me. And so I can check these back in on a one-by-one basis, or I can mass check them in. So in this case, I have them all highlighted. I click check in, and I can say completed session number 2, say at 50%. Done. And so I have that signifier that has now been commented on each of those 5 documents. It will upload or overwrite that project copy. That again becomes a new revision, and everyone can see the new progress in that new live file. So it's taken a moment here to upload those 5 files. But this is, again, I can do this with a number of different files. and be able to share that information very, very quickly and close the session out as the administrator. So you'll see it's hopping through each of these other documents pretty quickly. And here in about 3 seconds, I should have all of these documents all checked in, ready to be edited. All the changes from that A201 are included. If I double click, it opens that document as well very easily. Okay, so that is basically how to round trip all of your documents into sessions to be able to collaborate in live time. So this was all live. Steve and I are about 3,000 miles away from each other right now, and still being able to talk and collaborate and share screens and communicate very easily back and forth. And that goes for any distance and any type of party that you'd like to be able to include. I'm going to go ahead now and close this out, but this gives you a very good high-level idea of how to be able to do these workflows. So I'm going to hop back into my presentation here and go ahead and conclude it. So with that, that does conclude the AIA Continuing Education course on Bluebeam, how to collaborate real-time with Bluebeam Studio. If you have more information, or excuse me, if you'd like more information, please feel free to contact Calvin at our friends at Novedge, and they'll be able to help you out from that point. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pop it open to questions to see if Steve's got anything for me, and put myself on mute here for a couple seconds.
Thanks, Nick. If anybody has any questions, just feel free to type them right in that Q&A window, and we'll go ahead and address them live.
So we did have a question about microstation files, basically .dgn. That's a great question. Studio projects will allow you to host those files as long as you have microstation loaded on your computer. So that goes for any Windows-based files you're able to open on a Windows device. You're able to host those files, and yes, that does include .dgn. We have SketchUp. A number of different file formats that people do host on their studio projects. Now, Studio Sessions, on the other hand, is PDF only. I do just want to make that very clear. But yes, you are able to do that.
And Nick, looks like we had one question in the chat window regarding the folder structure in projects. The question is, for that folder structure and the organization of your files, was that something that you set up yourself, or was it automatically generated by the software?
Yeah, so in this particular case, it was a folder structure that I had already established on my local drive, my C drive. And so I dumped all of those files over, but I'm also able to come into children folders, if you will, and add files or folders from that particular location. So yes, you can customize it as you go along, and delete or add folders on a particular level. So it is customizable once it's within projects as well.
And it looks like we might have time for one more question here. So there was a question regarding with larger document sets. It seems to kind of slow things down a little bit, and especially in the rendering of the little preview windows. There was a question regarding, is there a way to sort of cache these as thumbnails? But I think maybe the larger question here is, how can you mitigate file size and keep your documents kind of lighter weight and faster to render?
Absolutely, and so I think that touches on that that thumbnails tab, the right click and extract. You don't want hundreds of thousands of documents in one particular drawing set. So that's why we do suggest the extract pages, as well as our sets feature, which I didn't touch on today, but allows you to work with lighter weight documents, even work together as a set, even though they're single page. I will also point out our compression. So document, and you can process and reduce file size. It's very, very useful, and it gives you a lot of flexibility to be able to reduce the file size. If you have pictures and things like that, this will reduce, I've seen it up to 95% reduction rate in file size. So a great way to be able to do that, to increase your flexibility in that render time. Now, I'm in a lightweight laptop. I know a lot of people use very performance-heavy desktops or laptops. So just giving you a heads up there. With that, I'm going to go ahead and close it out. I appreciate everyone joining me today. This was a great chance to speak with all of you, and I wish you the best. And have a wonderful day. Thank you very much.